Seems early, but before you know it, you'll be firing up that heater. Is your system ready for winter? Let Premier Heating and Air check it out. For just $69, our trained professionals will come out and inspect your heater and duct system to ensure it's ready for that first cold morning. Call Premier for up to $1,500 in rebates on your new heating system. Also qualify for a $2,000 tax credit on new units installed in 2023. Call today to experience the Premier difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome out back to TV 35. I'm joined here this morning with Mr. Frank Jordan. Mr. Frank, how you doing?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. So talk to us about what we got going on Saturday, Mr.
Yeah, October 14th, our second annual Fall Festival, and we're going to be it's going to be great. So last year we had a huge Fall Festival, had a great turnout. Everybody had fun. We had rides and events for the kids and the adults. We had petting zoo. We had a car show. We had the whole idea is get out good information about programs and services we offer at the VA. Okay. But we want to sweeten that medicine with a little bit of sugar. So so we had great food, and we will again this year. So this year we'll have some free food, and we'll have some of our local vendors will be there. Again, we're going to have a great car show. We expect it to be huge this year. We're going to have rides and games and stuff for the adults and the kids alike. And we're combining a lot of other stuff. So it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we're actually going to have a Breast Cancer Awareness 5K and butterfly release with this event. So at 11 a.m., the 5K will start. So anybody wants to come out and walk or run or whatever you want to do. And then immediately after that, we're going to have a butterfly release at our main flagpole. But it's got the big thing for the veterans, though, the new PACT Act. The PACT Act expands toxic exposure benefits for veterans, going all the way back. Korea, Vietnam War, the recent burn pit stuff. So it really expands all that. And we're going to have the Veterans Benefits Administration folks there to actually take your claim for the PACT Act and any other claim you want to file. So we're going to have 5 of those folks just inside of our doors, and our building one right next to the Fall Festival. So a veteran wants to come in and sit down with somebody, talk about their claim and file it, boom, they're going to be right there. So it's just a smorgasbord of stuff for everybody to enjoy.
So something for everybody.
Everybody can find something, yes.
So this is the second year that you guys are doing this. How was the turnout last year?
Last year was our biggest turnout of any event we've ever had, with one exception. Several years ago, we had the Vietnam War Memorial Wall come through Dublin, and it stayed for several weeks. And I'm trying to remember the exact figures. We finally, just what we counted, it was something like 18,000 people came through, but it was a lot more than that because a lot of people didn't sign in. So people literally came from all over the world to see this wall. So other than that, it was the biggest event we've ever had that I know of. So we probably had, it went from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. last year, and I think we had about a little over 2,200 folks come through altogether. This year we're going to be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, yeah, so it's going to be great. You can come in as you please, no admission, everybody's welcome. And the big thing is the kids. The reason we invite the kids is not just to get the adults to come in, but we're trying to promote patriotism in this country now. The younger folks, not you, you're a good guy, but some of the younger folks in the country, we're concerned they're not developing the patriotic sense they need. And the only way for a democratic nation like ours to keep going is patriotism. You have to believe in your country. You have to be willing to make certain sacrifices and willing to make a contribution. Well, the only way our kids are going to understand that, appreciate it, and then inculcate that themselves is if we teach them. And this is one way to do that. They can come out and meet veterans and see what the Department of Veterans Affairs does for America's heroes, and they have a good time while they're doing it. So they get a positive association, and that's what we want.
So kind of talk about the mission of the VA outside of this event.
That's one of the coolest things about working at the VA. Some organizations you work in, and this is not just me talking, there's a lot of research backing this up. People don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. They may know the specifics of their job, but they really, if an organization is too big especially, they don't really get what the organization is trying to achieve a lot of times. But we have a huge advantage there. We got one mission in the world, and that's provide the best health care to America's heroes, period. That's what we do. And you've got 3 administrations in the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. That's the Veterans Benefits Administration. Those are the folks that tell veterans, here's the benefits you're qualified for, and we're going to award them to you. Then you got the National Cemetery Administration, which we hope our veterans don't see for a long time. They do a lot more than just burials and cemetery stuff. They're a great organization. And then you have us, the Veterans Health Administration. We take care of veterans while they're with us. And so those 3 administrations work together to encompass the VA. But it's great because you know what you're there for. No matter what your job, I was the chief of police there for a long time, and I've done a lot of different jobs. And no matter what job you have at the VA, finance, housekeeping, doesn't matter. You know you have one overarching mission, and that is to provide the best health care possible to America's heroes in an atmosphere of dignity and respect at all times. That's it. And so everything else becomes a detail that builds on it. I know you work at Chick-fil-A part-time, I think. So yeah, so Chick-fil-A, the reason they're so successful is they've got one mission: good food and with good customer service. That's it. Everything else becomes a detail that either supports or detracts from it. So obviously you want to get away from the things that detract and keep that. So they do a good job because they got a basic mission. And Disney World is very similar. All the most successful organizations in the world, whether they're private, commercial, or philanthropic or whatever, they all have the same basic mission, and that's what the VA has, and that's why it's cool to work there.
And what do you think drives yourself, but not only you, also the other employees there, to get up and go fulfill that mission every day?
I think most people that work in a government institute, I've been in government service all my life with some very few exceptions in retail, but I was in the U.S. Navy for 7 years. I was a police officer for 21 years, worked at the City of Dublin Police Department as a sergeant there, chief of police at the VA, plus all the other things. I think that people who go into government service, they're good jobs generally, but if you compare them salary-wise to the private sector, they never quite match up because they just can't. But I think what motivates people in government service of any kind is a sense of mission. You want, at its, people always speculate. I'm a reader, and I've read a lot in my life about what motivates people, what's the purpose of life, blah, blah, blah. But it really comes down to something simple: having a purpose in your life, and you determine what that purpose is. It could be anything, whatever, something that motivates, resonates with you. That's the secret of life. And I always tell people that secret is to live with courage and purpose. That's it. And so when you work for a governmental institution like the VA, that purpose is there for you if you'll adopt it and believe in it. And so I think that's what gets most people motivated. When we get a compliment from a veteran or any of our customers, our constituents, we share that with our staff. We've got 2,000 people plus now.
Wow.
But we share it with everybody because we don't know, hey, this is why you're here, this is what you do, and people recognize it. And I think that's what keeps people motivated.
And now, how long have you been at the VA?
20 years with about a year and a half hiatus at Homeland Security. A few years back, I went to the Department of Homeland Security's Federal Law Enforcement Training Center's Leadership Institute to teach there, and literally got to travel the world for a while teaching leadership concepts. And so other than that hiatus, I've been at the VA since 2003.
So you mentioned 2,000 employees.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people in one building. How have you kind of seen that grow over your 20 years?
Well, when I started there in 2000, I don't know why I remember this number, but I remember it struck me. In 2003, when I started there, we had 747 employees total.
Wow.
And now we have over 2,000. It's just growing more. And the reason is the VA's mission has expanded. As you know, with 9/11, interestingly enough, our VA used to have about 200 plus acres, and we gave away a bunch of property in the early 2000s because we were trying to be responsible and not waste government or taxpayer money. And at the time, we just didn't have that many veterans coming to us for service. But then 9/11 happened, and so boom, shot up, and the need was there. So we're still trying to catch up with that all these years later. But so we've actually taken some of that property back. But yeah, it's grown to over 2,000. I expect before it really evens out, we're going to have 2,400 folks. We're the largest employer in Lawrence County and Central Georgia for the most part. So we're proud of that. We have an economic impact on this community, and we're proud of that. My job as communications director is to work hard to let everybody know we're part of this community. We're not offset from it. When I was a little kid, for a few years, we lived behind the VA. Okay. And I was a little juvenile delinquent. I got into everything, and I was a kid you didn't want to see around your house. But one thing I didn't do was go to the VA because back then, little Southern boys were scared of the federal government. But then I found out, then they built a new theater on the other side of the VA, and so that was the quickest way to get to the theater. So we would shoot through there. We didn't get any trouble because, again, we were scared. But then it was just so fascinating out there. And they had down at Lake Leisure, they had ducks and geese and stuff. We just had to hang out, so got a little bit of trouble there. But ironically, one of the police officers actually banned me for life from ever coming back to the VA.
Wow.
So I tell people one of the first things I did as chief of police was rescind my own ban so I could get it legally. But no, but it's a fascinating place to work. The history is what really gets me every day because I say that those veterans are living history. You know, you have an opportunity if you take the time to talk to them, get to know them. You hear firsthand accounts of the things that you may read about or see in movies. And if any of these movies that people like to watch, Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, well, people did that stuff. It's not fiction. We have fictionalized accounts, but these are actually people who went out and did that. And I've met those people over the years, and it's fascinating. And we had, at one point, construction on the VA began during World War II and was completed in 1945. We actually had German prisoners of war there at one point, and we had famous people come visit, and it's just loaded with history. So,
A whole lot of history there at the VA.
oh yeah.
How long has it been there?
So construction started in, I can't remember which month, but 1943, and I've got wonderful pictures of all this. And it was finished in 45. It was a Navy hospital at first. And then in 1948, they converted it to a VA administration hospital.
Okay.
And then I want to say in 89, we became a cabinet level department. So it's been there a long time. We just celebrated our 75th, excuse me, 75th anniversary.
Okay.
And like I said, it's one of the things that's great about the history there, though, is tracking it through construction. There's never been a year that I've worked there we didn't have major construction going on. And from what I can tell, there probably weren't many years they didn't have major. The cool thing about that is the economic impact. It brings all these dollars to the community, and we like that. We like knowing we're making contributions. So I see construction, and I hope I always see construction as long as I'm working there. I hope it never settles down at all.
So if someone's trying to get on at the VA, where can they go?
Usually you'll go to usajobs.gov and just put in Dublin, Georgia, and you'll see all kinds of jobs pop up. And you can even use the search engine to pare it down to VA if you want to. It's easy stuff. But we also have job fairs on a regular basis. We're constantly hiring new nurses, and we have a lot of job fairs and we call it direct hiring. So sometimes in given professions, managers can hire directly. I think our IT folks still do some of that. But so keep your eye open. That's one of the reasons I tell people to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah.
It's just the quickest way to find out what's going on at the VA. So not just events and programs and services from a national level, our local stuff. Our fall festivals on there. If we have a job fair, it's going to be on there. There's just anything you can think of. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's all going to be on that Facebook page because it's just so easy for me and my deputy to pop it on there real quick. And so I tell people, follow our page, share that stuff. Especially, you don't know who these veterans are, because one of the challenges we face at the Dublin VA, we have a catchment area of 49 counties in middle and south Georgia, and we're only getting about 30% of the veterans who are entitled to services coming in for those services. And it's like you went to work and didn't clock in and get, you worked 8 hours but only claimed 2. Yeah. You wouldn't do that. Well, we got veterans out there in middle and south Georgia who aren't getting those benefits, and we're desperate to get them in here. We want them to come get those benefits. Yeah. And so, so we Facebook's, if you don't know who the veterans are in your community sometimes. Most veterans will serve and then go on to have a nice quiet life doing whatever. But so if you share that stuff you see on Facebook, you may never know who you're reaching. But you may change a veteran's life because they may say, oh, I'm entitled to these benefits, let me get that. So that's what the PACT Act is about. That's a massive expansion of benefits for veterans, and we want them all to get it right now. It's so easy to file. But like I said, at our fall festival this Saturday, October 14th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're going to have a VBA claims clinic. You can walk. If you don't come for anything else, folks, come and get those benefits. Sign up for those benefits. Don't even think about it. Just come drop that application, see where it goes. You might be amazed. You might end up with some connected for some benefits. But you can have fun while you're there, too.
So you've talked about the VA. We've hyped it all up.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of got you there, and also what kind of drives you to serve these veterans that served you before?
I kid people and tell people before I went to the VA, I couldn't even spell VA. I didn't know what. I was working at the Dublin Police Department. I was a sergeant there. It was a great job and had a great crew there. But I was looking for something new, a new challenge. I'm one of those folks that every few years I like to see life's too short. You want to try different things. And that's why I tell you younger folks got it made, man, because when I was growing up, you were kind of expected to pick a profession, and that's what you did till you died.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness nobody expects that anymore. As long as you're handling your responsibilities and take care of you and yours, you can have 20 careers in your life if you want to. I tell people, pursue your interests. As long as you're paying your bills, handling your responsibilities, pursue your interests, and now it's expected you'll have 8 or 10 different careers in you know, that's just the way it is. But I've always kind of knew that intuitively, so I needed something new to keep my interest. And a friend of mine, or a couple guys that worked for me at the Dublin Police Department had gone to the VA police and said, Sarge, you got to come work here. This is the kind of policing you talk about all the time. You'll love it, you know. And I was skeptical, you know, and I was like, but let me check it out. Yeah. So sure enough, I went, and it was exactly the kind of policing I wanted to be doing. We call it voluntary compliance, very officer friendly, customer focused, and that's what I wanted to do. So stay there, but it's basically a transition. And then once I got in the VA and saw the mission and saw what it was really about, now everything just tied together for one purpose, I was hooked after that. I was like, you know, well then I rocked on for many years and loved it, but I was saying, well, because I'd done just about every job in administration at the VA, including being the interim associate director for almost a year and serving as acting director on occasion. So now I'm looking for new stuff, and that's how I ended up at Homeland Security, because their mission, I was a senior instructor at the Leadership Institute down in Brunswick, and again got to travel the world, Bangkok to Budapest to El Salvador to teach leadership concepts. But I missed my VA, so I said, maybe if I'd done this from the start, I'd stay with Homeland Security. But I miss the VA. I miss Dublin, Lawrence County. It's once you get here in this beautiful community and these rural surroundings and such a supportive bunch of folks, you just kind of miss it if you get away from it.
So let's circle back
Okay.
to the event this Saturday. Remind us the date and time.
October 14th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right at the WVA Medical Center. It's going to be all out on our front lawn. Again, we're going to have car show, petting zoo, games and rides and stuff for the kids, food for everybody. We're going to have great information on programs and services at the VA offices. We're going to have that VBA claims clinic. Can't emphasize that enough. If you're a veteran, even suspect you might have a service connection, don't worry about it. Come on in there and file that claim and see what happens. You might be surprised. But we're going to have 5 of those folks to help from 10 to 2. So we're going to have that car show. It's going to be huge. Just so many events, it's hard to even tick them all off, to be honest. It's going to be great. And we want to build this up because, again, it's not just about the immediate need to get the message out about programs and services. We want the kids to come through because we want them to see what it means, what patriotism looks like in the form of the actual people who've done it. And they can put a face and a name with the what it requires to keep this country safe. I tell people there are always people, when we're sitting here doing this, there are people in the air, at sea, on walls around the world, holding down posts all over this world that are protecting our interests. Yeah. They're the often silent guardians that allow us to have a democracy, and it doesn't, freedom's not free, and they pay that price. So I want to see the families get together and bring out the kids, and that's how you're going to teach your kids to be patriotic about their country and how we pull this country together. That's it. And come out and have a good time doing it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Now you talked about that car show. That kind of sparked my interest.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be. It was very popular last year, but we added it on at the last week or so.
Okay.
And so we didn't have time to promote it as much as we wanted to, but it was still very popular. They had motorcycles, they had American heavy metal, they had new cars, they had the 3-wheel deals. I can't even think what those things are called, but no, they had Jeeps. They had this year they're gonna have a auto division, truck division, I think, and a off-road division. Okay. So if you got a Jeep or an off-road vehicle, you can take it out there. But it's going to be kind of set by itself in front of our mental health clinic. So it's going to be like a separate event that you can come through and enjoy. But yeah, it's good. We're going to have our police will be out there. Won't be any problems with parking. Going to be ample parking. Like I said, there'll be free food. There'll be vendors if you choose that. We're going to have popcorn and I think ice cream, all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, everybody's welcome. We want to pull from everywhere.
Oh yeah. So you what'd you say the numbers were last year?
Little over altogether. I had to estimate because we didn't keep exact counts, but it ended up being well over 2,000 people. Because what people would do, they treated it very much like the fair. You come in, you stay as long as you want, you leave, and we had that go all day long. That's perfect. That's just what we want. You can come and go as you please, and we actually know the fair's going on. Downtown Dublin's having a big event that day, so we expect to potentiate each other. Once you get done at downtown, come see us, or vice versa. Maybe you're going out to the fair, stop in and see us while you're on the way. Coming back from the fair, dip in, see what we got going on. So yeah. And this is going to be a big event every year. We plan to do it every year.
Okay, Frank, I appreciate you talking to me.
Glad to do it, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got to pack this thing out Saturday morning. Let's get them numbers up again this year.
That's right. Bring the groups, church groups, school groups.
Bring everybody.
Bring the family, all your extended family, yeah. Pick up some people beside the road and bring them in.
All right, Mr. Frank, I appreciate you.
Yeah, brother, anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been TV 35.